Although many are familiar with the coat of arms of the city of Glasgow, there is a story behind the tree, the bird, the fish and the bell. The tree on the coat of arms stems from an old legend concerning St Kentigern. According to legend, as a boy, St Kentigern, or Mungo as his mentor St Serf renamed him, was told by the saint to keep the fire burning in the refectory, as it was a holy fire which had been sent from heaven. Unfortunately, the young boy fell asleep, and his contemporaries, looking to get up to mischief as they were envious of the boy, put the fire out. At that point, Kentigern woke up and broke off a frozen branch of a hazel tree. Breathing on it in the name of the Holy Trinity, it suddenly burst into flames. This stems from ancient customs, where fire was seen as central to family life and the heart of the home. Another part of the story relates to the bird, which did not sing. Originally thought to be a raven, by 1718 it was described as a little red bird sitting on the oak tree. It turns out this was a redbreast, although could have been a robin, which is more popular today. Kentigern's mentor, St Serf, had a tame robin, and one day one of his followers accidentally killed it. Whoever did it blamed Kentigern for its demise. The young Kentigern said a prayer and made the sign of the cross over the little dead bird, and suddenly it came back to life and flew chirping back to St Serf. The fish with the ring which appears on the coat of arms is a reference to an old story about the lost ring of the Queen of Cadso, Langureth. One day, the king, Heiderich Hale, took a knight he suspected of having an affair with his wife, hunting. While the knight slept, the king removed the ring from him that the queen had given him and threw it into the river Clyde. When he returned home, he asked the queen for the ring, and that if she didn't bring it to him, she would face execution. She sent a maid to the knight and asked for the ring back, but the knight told her he no longer had it, so she sent for Kentigern, explaining everything to him and offering up penance for her wrongdoings. The saint took pity on her and sent one of his men to the river to fish for it, and asked him to bring back the first fish he caught. He did so, and in the salmon's mouth was the ring. He sent it to the queen, who in turn handed it over to her husband, thus avoiding certain death. It was said the bell had been brought to Glasgow by St Kentigern, along with other items given to him by the Pope in Rome, but there is no reliable evidence of this. According to one source, Kentigern visited Rome 7 times, and on the last visit he received the bell from the Pope. But this does seem improbable. It's far more likely Kentigern's bell was made at home, or possibly in Ireland, and may have been given to him at the time of his ordination by the bishop who came from Ireland to perform the ceremony. Bells the same as Kentigern's were made in Ireland from quite an early time, with abundant historical evidence to show that many of the ecclesiastical people in those early times obtained celebrity, and makers of sacred implements, such as this, were skilled in their craft. Kentigern's bell is quadrangular in shape, made of iron, and longitudinally riveted on either end. A coating of bronze covered the iron, and would once have been coated in gold, although that is unclear for this particular bell. Bells were significant in the early Christian churches of Scotland. They were blessed and anointed, and it was said they would ward off the devil. Kentigern's bell was revered in Glasgow, but it was never used to call the faithful to church. Instead, this small tinkling bell was used at the altar, and friars were often to be found ringing them for the souls of the departed. On 18th December 1454, the first Provost of Glasgow, John Stewart, took office, and the bell, then known as St Mungo's bell, was rung in celebration. He left an endowment to have the bell tolled when he died throughout the city to pray not just for his soul, but for all Christians. On 28th November 1509, as the result of a foundation donation given by Sir Archibald Crawford, the Minister of Cadder, the bell was rung through the town to give prayer following his death, for not just his soul, but for those of all Christians. Following the spoliation of Glasgow Cathedral that took place during the Reformation, the bell fell into the hands of two locals. Then a few years later, it was handed over to the magistrates. Understanding its historical significance, they secured it for the community. In November 1577, the bell was purchased by the town bailies and council of deacons from Andrew Lang and his family. A year later, a tong was bought for it. By the mid-1590s, it was claimed by the local presbytery, and in November 1594, the borough record states it was to be used for the ecclesiastical burying of the dead, and that the election of the person to ring it belonged to the kirk. The bell appears again in records in 1631, when it was still in Glasgow. The writer Camerarius stated that Glasgow has for its achievement a salmon and also a bell, which was used by the man of God, Kentigern, and which is preserved in Glasgow to the present day. However, a new deed bell or dead bell was commissioned in 1640, the old one being worn out but preserved and used only on very rare and special occasions. Its whereabout today is unknown. This new bell appears to have disappeared at some stage, but in 1867 it was discovered and handed over to the City of Glasgow Corporation. This bell was 4.5 inches tall, with the date 1641 on it, the year after the order was placed. On it was a variation of the city's coat of arms, although no other examples of it were found anywhere else. The fish wasn't present on the arms, but positioned below it. It's interesting to note it was a square bell. It would appear, therefore, whoever made the bell had copied the original bell from the time of Kentigern. It can be seen today in the People's Palace. This is a story behind Glasgow's coat of arms, introduced to the city in 1866 by the Lord Lion, concerning the tree that never grew, the bird that never flew, the fish that never swam, and the bell that never rang. If you enjoyed this episode of Scotland's History, please like, comment and subscribe. Until next time, thank you for watching.